Big Show with Jim Check and Ian Burns.
Good morning from coast to coast, and somebody even from Florida sitting on a nice sunny beach. We envy you as you sit there on a sunny beach. Watch out for the Crocs, though, I guess. Big weekend, beautiful day here in the Okanagan, and lots going on. And the headlines that we're picking from here this morning: Canadians reward failure even though the price is ruining them. That was one of them. Is Canada hypocrisy? In Canada, is hypocrisy and failure rewarded? We're going to show you lots of evidence of that. But we went with, are Canadians stuck in an abusive relationship? It seems to be so, eh? Do you know what I mean? Like it seems like the data is overwhelming, and the Canadians continue to suffer. We're going to show you lots of evidence of that as well. Yet they still seem to cheerlead the guy in the party that has them on the path. And they reward the ones that are connected. And we're going to show you so much evidence today. It might make some people angry, sad, even more like angry. I think anger is a good word to have for sure in this one. We appreciate the feedback, though. We do appreciate the feedback. Here's some feedback. That's very high praise for sure. And we do this work because we're trying to make a difference for sure. That's why we're here, Ian and I. It's not easy, that's for sure. And I posted some stuff on LinkedIn, and of course, you can put that one up. Unfiltered globalism, common sense. It's somebody accused me of being Maple MAGA. I don't know. Is that hate speech? You know what I mean? They don't look at everything I say, but they want to call me Maple MAGA. What is that supposed to be?
That's such a disappointing little comment, isn't it? Such a banal comment.
You leave that
Especially the fine people on both sides, because surely by this point, even the slowest people in the class, even the dimmest people, have actually looked into that comment. And they know that it was taken completely out of context to try and punish Trump. Read the comment. Like, don't take my word for it. Type in the fine people on both sides. I mean, even I think a lot of the sort of left-wing or progressive activist fact-checkers, so-called, like Snopes, even they have come around to that and realized that actually it's not what it seemed. It was taken out of context and it was used to beat Trump with. And we get this comment. And I just Googled this guy. I don't know if it's the same person, but it looks like it is. It's the same photograph. And it says on his LinkedIn page that he was the editor-in-chief of the Financial Post magazine, which was the National Post's flagship business monthly. You can be an editor of a magazine in Canada, work for one of the major publishers, news publishers in the Canadian space, and not even know that. Do you know what I mean? Like, not even know the most elementary of current events. I mean, it's a historical event now, I suppose, isn't it? But God bless this country when we've had people like that to serve in the media.
Well, the media has done a great job of turning Maple MAGA into a slur. That's what they've done with it. And then he turns around and he attaches all that hatred towards me by marginalizing and minimizing what I have to say. Our job is to critique power. That's what we're doing. I posted on LinkedIn. There's some good stuff that happened on LinkedIn, too. I got an interview with a speaker out there, that a lawyer that helps people move to the United States. So we're going to get that interview here right away. So that's cool. Get some good stuff. But obviously these type of people, they don't want you to say anything. You're not allowed to say unless it's an approved message. So this is basically hate speech. This is minimizing and marginalizing anything I have to say. That's what that's meant to do, right? That's all it's meant to do. And
it's not just marginalizing. Again, it's the same thing that David Eby did. Read between the lines. That stupid term, Maple MAGA, it's so trite and boring that people probably don't even think about it for more than a second anyway. But if you do think about it for more than a second, it's an accusation of being loyal to a foreign country, isn't it? MAGA stands for Make America Great Again.
And last time we looked...
We are Canadians. We do this from a Canadian perspective. It's not within your gift to decide that we operate for a foreign country. You know, that is, not only is that astonishingly rude, but it's also just obviously false. It's just completely fake. Disinformation, one might say.
Coming from somebody that writes his bio there is the editor and writer, project leader specializing in nature and environment. Nice. Nice work.
But as I say, look no further. If you're curious as to why it is that the Canadian media is such trash, this might well be why. If you have people who have mediocre minds in charge, in positions of authority, your institutions, your outlets, whatever they are, in the media sphere, are not going to be very good. If you're going to have bright people, they have to be at the top, really, don't they? If they're going to be anywhere. And it looks like at least whichever publications he worked for have suffered from personnel issues.
We're going to kick it off here with budget lacking credibility. Really? Who would have thought? We've highlighted this many times. Francois-Philippe Champagne, Canada is going to be the strongest economy in the G7. And then there's an investment budget. It's not a debt budget, it's investment. Ian does this way better than me, but yeah, Francois-Philippe Champagne, Canada must restore fiscal credibility. Oh no, that's from the investment banker saying we must restore fiscal credibility. And that's from a Toronto think tank. Really? You mean just running amok budgets and just like not being, also what's lacking in this budget is credibility, but also transparency, because they've lumped stuff in together and there's a whole bunch of spending that's not inside this budget. I mean, the budget is what for them? What does the budget actually mean?
It's a PR opportunity, yeah. Which is why this photograph and many others like it accompany its publication. It's not actually about what they're going to spend and do. I mean, we still don't know how they're going to spend or pay for lots and lots of things, including the massive promises made about military expenditure. We still don't know because they don't take that kind of thing seriously.
Some of the stuff that was said. So the federal debt projected to rise from 1.27 trillion to 1.63 trillion over the same period, while debt to GDP ratio increases. And that's a submission from the pre-budget consultations. Interim budget officer, remember Jason Jacks, who they just said, you need to go now because he was too noisy. Last September in that committee hearing said that something's going to break. And it should be very alarming, he testified. We don't use the word unsustainable. Unsustainable means we don't have the option to say, maybe we'll wait a couple of years, let's see how that goes. It means if you don't change, this is done. I see no change. You see any change? If anything, I've seen them hit the accelerator pedal on debt. If anything, yeah. They've actually hit the accelerator pedal as they're steering for the cliff.
Indeed. And because, the aforementioned comment about the mediocrity of Canada's press is relevant, actually, because so many of those people are either mediocre or tendentious. They're either not very smart, not very good, or they're on the Liberal team. Because of that, this isn't really noted anywhere. Instead, they fall for the stupid comparisons that the likes of Mr. Champagne make all the time, where they say, oh, well, look at France. They're not doing very well. They're in the G7. Like, we're doing really good compared to France. So countries with a dodgy fiscal position, do you look to France? Do you look to them for sort of comparison? Are they're the benchmark? France. Have you seen France's finances lately? Or the United Kingdom's, or Italy's, or basically any country in the G7, even the US? They all have dreadful fiscal positions, except for two countries, which are like one step behind, and it's Germany and Canada. But they're still dreadful. They're just dreadful -1. Are those the people that you should look to compare your country's fiscal performance? But that's what the press does. It says, Champagne will say, we're actually doing all right. We're doing better than anybody else in the G7 on fiscal position. And then the press just regurgitates that, rather than looking around the world and saying, hold on, are these debt-infested countries really who we should be comparing ourselves to? Should we look at more functional countries, perhaps, see how they're handling it? But that doesn't happen.
It's like Canada. If it was a student in a class, it would be the top student that has so much potential. Little Johnny here has so much potential. And then when you say, Johnny, you're not performing, what's going on with you? He said, well, look at I'm better than the drunken bums over here. You know, these guys here, the high school dropouts, they're drunken bums. I'm better than them. Okay. You are.
But that's, yeah, I mean,
Drunken bum.
it's a very good analogy, actually, because I've seen that many times where people, they limit their own horizons, just on a sort of personal human level. They limit their own horizons based on who they compare themselves to. So they'll have the capacity, as you're saying, to go very far in the world or whatever profession that they're in. But they compare themselves to Bob down the road. And they say, well, you know, I'm doing a lot better than him. It's a way to sort of restrict your potential, isn't it? I think that is a valid analogy. Because we're doing that as a country, without doubt.
And here's an example of the media. And then watch how they talk to, Ian's pointed this out a million times, watch how they talk to Pierre Poilievre. And then we've shown you lots of clips with Mark Carney and his dismissive attitude towards the press. But listen, they barely let him answer a question. Listen, you might have to cue it up from the beginning as it gets going, because we want to make sure we pick up the reporter's question here.
It seems like Canadians are laying the blame for their economic troubles with Mr. Trump, but you don't agree with that.
Well, maybe you are. Maybe you are protecting Mr. Carney from his economic record, but here's the reality. Mr. Trump's policies are affecting all G7 countries, and none of them are in recession. Mexico shares a border with the United States. Mexico is not in recession. Only Canada, under Mark Carney's liberal policies, is in a recession. France is not in a recession. UK is not in a recession. Germany's not in a recession. Italy's not in a recession. Japan's not in a recession. Only Canada among G7 countries is in a recession. And only Canada among North American countries is in a recession. So it seems that the other countries, despite Mr. Trump's unfair tariffs, have been able to craft policies to avoid recession.
Very sour-faced woman there, asking him questions.
Mr. Poilievre, take your press gallery question sessions outside. Take them out onto the steps. Stop catering to this elite group of reporters here that just continue to attack you. Take it out on the steps and let all the media there, because they can't control what's out on the steps. They can control who's inside this parliamentary gallery, though. Take it outside. That'll help all independent media in Canada, and it will take away some of their power. Just take it outside. And then tempt the Liberals to do the same, and the NDP. They have power inside here. This is why they use it. This is shield and spear. And you're playing right into their hands.
But also, it's talk about how they treat Poilievre differently. Again, look at the way she's speaking there. And her sort of miserable face, the antagonistic tone. Everything about it, that she treats Poilievre as, at best, an equal or a peer. Realistically, as something less than even herself. Carney walks on campus and, it's like Zeus has entered the hall. And it's time to, everybody shuts up. Can you imagine an interruption of a boilerplate Carney response like that? Can you imagine it? Or even, he was actually making a sort of snide comment, wasn't he, about her and her, like, you might think that. Carney does that kind of thing all the time, and he doesn't even get, there isn't even pushback, there isn't even a response. They don't even stand, have you noticed? They don't even stand like that. In that exact spot, you see the stairs to his right, he's just come up the stairs. How many times have we seen Mark Carney walk up those stairs? They don't surround Carney like they surround Poilievre. It's even positioning. They've like blocked him off there, and she's right up next to him. You never see that with Carney. And I'm inclined to think part of the reason for that is because Carney is like truly vicious. He's really vicious, and he's very prickly. And when he attacks the journalists, he does it in a way that's calculated to cause the most embarrassment and pain on their part. Whereas Poilievre, you know what Poilievre's going to say? He's just going to say, well, maybe you think that, and the other Canadian press and other liberal-leaning outlets, it's like, all right, I'll take that all day. Okay. Whereas Mark Carney sort of looks him in the eye, and he gets his frown on, and he starts saying, like, you're Bloomberg. You have a responsibility to report accurately. And, he changes the tone of the room, and he puts fear into them. And it's not just the fact that obviously he can do all kinds of things that will ruin their careers, and they need access, and also that they are favorable to him anyway by disposition. I think it is also the way that Carney just gets them by the neck, gets them by the scruff of the neck, and he smashes their heads together, and he scares them. I think they're afraid of Mark Carney. They're not scared of Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah, Chris saying he's going to write a letter. I've talked to a couple of MPs. You need to take their power away. Take their power away. Take them outside. Take them all outside. Refuse to do anything inside the halls there until they provide access to independent media. They won't do it. So just take the power away. And then tempt or dare the Liberals to do the same thing. They control all the access there. Their handlers control the questions, everything. It's completely different. Here's this question here is kind of how the Carney Liberals vaulted over Pierre Poilievre, that 51st state comment, and they used that as a weapon against Canadians. And here's Marco Rubio in a sit-down interview explaining the 51st state, how it came up, and he says it was Trudeau's idea.
President Trump has talked about expanding the U.S. footprint. In a hot mic moment, Canada's Prime Minister said that absorbing Canada is a real thing. Is it a real thing?
Look, you know how that came about. President's meeting with Trudeau, and Trudeau says, well, if you even out our trade relationship, then we will cease to exist as a country. At which point the president responded very logically, and that is, well, if you can't exist without cheating in trade, then you should become a state. That was his observation.
That's how it started.
It is how it started. And I think he's told the story publicly. And that's how all this began. Look, Canada's our friend. Canada's our neighbor. Canada's our partner. But it goes back to the point I made. For decades, the United States allowed uneven trade imbalances to develop. During the Cold War, you know why we did it? We did it because we felt like we want countries to be strong economically, even if it means they're cheating, because we don't want them to fall victim to some internal Marxist coup that overturns their government or what have you. Those days are gone. These are rich, developed economies. And ultimately, who can argue against the fact that whatever they charge us, we should charge them? Whatever they prohibit, if they don't allow American companies to do it, we should not allow their companies to do it here. American banks can't even operate in Canada. So there has to be reciprocity here. We can continue to work together on all kinds of things, but whether it's Canada, Mexico, China, anybody else, when it comes to economics and trade, there has to be reciprocity, there has to be fairness. And who would argue, how can anybody argue against that? The days where we just allow countries to take advantage of us, that has to end. That's not good for the global order. That leads to imbalances that create friction points. That's the case with Canada. It's the case with a lot of countries who are our allies and friends. But on trade, we have an imbalance and it has to be dealt with.
The banking oligopoly, he and I talk about this endlessly. Oligopolies in Canada are putting Canadians on food bank lineups. Like oligopolies, the corporate elite, the protected groups. The banking cartel is one of them. The oligopoly of the banks. Look at their stock charts. Their stocks are the highest they've ever been. And a lot of that is due to earnings based on widening spreads. Widening spreads. Read that as more Canadians can pay more. Even when they can't afford to pay more, the banks take more. So they borrow from the Bank of Canada, and that widening spread, they charge you more. And they continue, that greed. That's what that widening spread is, because there's a lack of competition in Canada. And they're protected. They're protected. They protect them from allowing the American banks to come in here and compete with them. They'll say, oh, they can come in here, but there's so many regulations and hurdles, it's impossible. And guess where Canadian banks are? They have huge footprints in the United States. RBC, TD, all of them. TD just got busted for some money laundering down there, and they had to pay billions of dollars in that. It's an unfair relationship. Let's talk about supply management. Supply management is literally, like Canadians can't afford food, and supply management, a big part of that problem. Canadians pay way more than they have to. I just brought back some cheese when I went down in the United States. I think it was Tillamook cheese. And I gave it to some friends, and they're just like, how is this cheese so good? And I told them what the price was. Like, how is it this good and this cheap? And then talk about European cheese or English cheese. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're in protected oligopolies. Like the corporate elite control Canada through the Liberal Party. And the same for the NDP. That's why this condo bailout, it's the corporate elite that have, it's not for the people. The NDP no longer is a party of the people. And the Liberals are a long time not a party of the people. It's corporate elite. Grocery stores too, we don't have enough competition. This is the problem in Canada. And they protect it. And this is the problem with the trade agreement here. What are the things they name in this trade agreement? They've mentioned the banking oligopolies. They definitely have mentioned supply management. And it's not only the Americans on supply management, it's the Europeans as well. And the same thing goes for all these other oligopolies. Supply management, one of the worst ones. So they spend the most in Canada to hang on to that oligopoly. We had the food professor on. He said it's a very, very powerful lobby group, very powerful and intimidating lobby group. And he said if he wasn't already had tenure, they'd make sure he didn't have tenure. That's how powerful they are.
So it's such a strange industry to behave in that fashion, isn't it? Or to have that reputation. But yeah, it is true. Although I would say, just as context here, this interview's from like a while ago. I think it might even be from last year, or it's from earlier this year. So this is not a new interview from Rubes, but it's still quite interesting to hear him articulate that, because you know, you're saying it's not, well, he said, and then you agreed that it's not a fair relationship. I mean, yeah, it's not, but it's not just entirely one way. What he said there was actually very important, and I think accurate, got to the heart of it, where he talked about how America kind of opened up its markets and gave quite favorable deals to lots of countries like Japan. Canada was kind of one, but it's in a different category. But Japan and European countries and some other countries around the world, the US kind of, as he said, yeah, it was almost like a form of bribery, but it was a new method of maintaining an empire. You didn't have to do what the British had to do, where they had to set up administrations and build roads and things like that, and actually go send bureaucrats and soldiers and stuff like that. Well, the Americans still sent soldiers, but they didn't sort of like fully take over a place. It was a much more sophisticated and subtle and functional version of an empire, I think, and a lot less bloody. It wasn't like the British, or the British wasn't that bloody, but like the Spanish Empire or even like the Roman Empire. Look what they did. They just went in, cracked skulls together, oppressed the natives, and just held colonies, basically. The American version of empire, except for there are some exceptions like the Philippines and so on, but it's not like that. They had an imperial system that was built on what Marco Rubio discussed there. What I don't understand is then they now seem to be in the process of dismantling that. But while they dismantle it in places like Canada, they also expect Canada to hold up its side of the bargain, which is to be in line with the United States on foreign policy. That's basically what Canada and other countries gave away. Japan is, I mean, by far the most obvious one. They signed away in a constitution their right to have an army, basically, or to attack people or do anything. They gave all of that to the United States. They said, look, you control our foreign policy. Whatever you say, we do, basically. Canada's had basically the same approach. But what I really don't understand is they want to pull back that other side, the carrot side of the empire, which is like favorable trade deals, access to the US market. But they still expect the likes of Canada to outsource their foreign policy to the United States, to Washington, D.C., but in effect to him, to the Secretary of State and the President. That's what I don't understand. That's where I see inconsistency. Because why would Canada, you talk about reciprocity. If the old bargain's dead, why would Canada follow the United States on foreign policy? That needs to be articulated.
I'm going to sidebar here a little bit. Tony seems to want my answer, and I'll answer Tony here on. He says, I seem to be promoting Meta's data centers. First of all, Ian and I are no friends of Meta. Meta took away our audience along with the Liberal government. Meta took away our audience that we worked for, like hard. They took away our audience of 200,000. No fan of Meta. Not even a little bit. They won't even answer our bloody emails either, right? They won't respond. And they took away our function though. So I'm not a fan of Meta. And I'm not promoting data centers. I'm promoting a prosperous economy. That's what I'm promoting. These data centers are going somewhere. And you need to have politicians that protect your data and protect your privacy and protect your rights to freedom of speech, right? You have the wrong government. These tools are coming regardless. If we don't do something with them, China's surely doing something with them. We need to move forward into the future. There's no choice in that matter. And prosperity. We can't get our energy to the coastlines. So if we can use it in place, wow, that's better. And we're going to show you some stuff later on Alberta. Alberta is the engine of Canada. Alberta, that's the biggest investment in Canada in a long time. So it's not about meta. It's about the economy. It's about the economy. And it's about Canadians getting an ability to earn a fair wage and to have a good life and to raise a family. As far as the data goes, make sure that we have politicians in place that don't allow our data to be used against us. Right now in Canada, look at the laws that are being proposed. There are the bills that are put forward. This has nothing to do with data centers. This has to do with the government and the politics involved in the policies. The United States is the freest country in the world because they have a few things that protect them. And one of those is absolute freedom of speech. We do not have that in Canada. So I hope that clears that up for you, Tony. Gavin Newsom. This is an important piece right here. This is a really important piece. This talks about Canada as well. It's about a minute and a half. I'm no fan of Gavin Newsom either. But what he shares there is not, it's a bipartisan issue that Canada is actually being the, I guess, the fuse for the Chinese government here. And it's not good because the automotive sector is one of the most important sectors in the world in manufacturing. It is one of the most important sectors in the world, and it's at threat right now. Listen to Gavin Newsom.
Elon Musk.
One of the great disappointments. One of the great innovators of our time. I brought up Edison before. He's Edison of our time. It breaks my heart. I was the first, one of the first Teslas off the line. I've been one of their biggest proponents, supporters. Was regulation in California that created the conditions that allowed him to take the risk to become the multi-billionaire, maybe trillionaire that he's become, including Solar City and some of the regulatory frameworks that launched Elon Musk. And he launched this space. Now he's going to space, and he's now turning his back, not only in the state that promote him, though he has no problem getting the R&D tax credits and moving his world headquarters on R&D here and having Grok here and most of his talent here, which is also interesting. But right now he's allowing, and I think this is Trump, not just Elon Musk, he's going to allow the greatest on-goal in, I think, one of the most significant on-goals in the next decade is ceding the EV space to China. They have 70% of the global EV market. It's about statecraft with them. It's about supply chains. They're flooding the zone all around the globe, including now right on the border into Canada, where they're going to have 49,000 cars getting that tariff down there. And it's a stack play. It's a national security play. And I really fear what's going to happen to American legacy automobile manufacturers. Elon was the one accelerating that. Now he's put the brakes on his own innovation in that space and now shifted to robotics, humanoids, including the line here at Free.
That's good. This Carney deal with China and the 49,000 EVs is very important. It is very important. Like I said, it's a bipartisan issue. And it doesn't matter which government's in place. It's not about Trump. It's not about the Republicans. It's not about the Democrats. This is about like one of the most significant industries in the world. And that's why China wants it. And that's why China has been so strong and working with Canada, not working with Canada, working through Canada. Canada is seen as a point of weakness. Canada is seen as a point of weakness. And like I said, I'm no fan of Gavin Newsom. I know a lot of people are complaining they had to listen to a couple minutes. It was important to hear that from him, to show you that it was a bipartisan issue and then how important the Chinese EV thing is. I mean, most of the automakers, including the Japanese automakers, are all aware of this. I don't agree with him, that Elon Musk is ceding the space as well. I mean, he's growing his company and doing different things, but this is important. And Melanie Jolie, she's just like, she's all in on building plants. And someone said, I said Doug Ford now, and someone said, oh, Doug Ford never agreed to this. What are you talking about? Doug Ford was like spouting off at the podium. Mark Carney went and had a couple of cigars with him and some scotch. Next thing you know, they're standing at the podium together, promoting it, right? Pizza, that's right, pizza. And then they're promoting it. That's a good deal.
Sold his soul for a slice of pepperoni.
Must be good pepperoni pizza. We do have.
Alternatively, he just says what he needs to say to get along in that moment, as some have accused him of doing.
We won't let you down, lady. We have Justy there dancing like a fool, like nobody's business.
We already had that, didn't we, on Friday?
We got it again. It's continuing to grow. It's got legs, just like Justin. Boinka 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 boinka. Here's CTV. Even you can't ignore this. Toyota moves production in Mexico. Expect others to leave Canada. Come to this show. We're a week ahead of the mainstream media, really, because now they're all getting on this manufacturing thing. Well, we talked about this early last week, and we carried on with it, right? But now they're going to start running cover for it. You watch how they run cover for this here in the next while.
We've been talking about this for more than a year, but I know this specific thing. But this is just not that it gives me any satisfaction, but this is just proof of what we said was likely to happen. And in fairness, not just us, obviously, quite a lot of other voices have said it as well. But the most prominent people in the media and politics have said the opposite was likely to happen. So quite a surprise to them, I'm sure.
275 manufacturers, that's the survey was, and 57% of them. This is the important one. This is what I had Renee Merrifield on as well when we do Beyond the Belt, and that's tomorrow as well. This is the all-important stat in there. 57%, according to the survey, have already paused, cut back, or canceled capital investment projects. And Ian and I talk about this all the time. Productivity. That's productivity. If you don't invest, your productivity goes down. Importing servers for Tim Hortons and A&W does not increase productivity in Canada. Does not increase productivity in Canada. Even though Tim Hortons may let you think that making really bad sandwiches there is a good thing for Canada.
What about MOUs though? Do MOUs increase productivity?
So we got
a lot of them.
You got other uses for that paper. That's probably what it could be used for. Is that too far? Too far.
I don't think so.
Here's even CP putting out a headline. Companies no longer in a wait and see mode. What do you expect? What do you expect, right? And you know what? If you listen to the interviews of some of these companies, it is not just tariffs.
No.
The biggest thing they talk about too, and this has been going on for a while, because this hasn't just happened overnight, it is the regulatory burden in Canada. Ian and I talk about it a lot. Strangulation by regulation. That should be another one of our t-shirts. We're going to get our store up this week. Guaranteed. 100%. And we're going to be selling these because if you want the really big show, if you don't like white, we're like ebony and ivory here. We got both. We got black and white. Like, was that Stevie Wonder and wasn't that Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney? Ebony and ivory?
Macca, yeah.
Hey?
Was Stevie Wonder in that? I thought it was written by Paul McCartney. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, they sang it together.
Right.
Duet.
Very crass, I would say. Paul McCartney does that kind of thing.
Stevie was doing the keys. Ebony and ivory. Again, ebony and ivory. Anyway.
I would say, though, on this, I think this CP24 one, I assume, I haven't clicked on this link, but I assume that's the KPMG thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's 100%.
Yeah. Which is like very, very disheartening to have a look at. I must say, and we do this every day as we talk about it, and it's lots of miserable news. That KPMG report is like, it's almost, it's like nightmare fuel, as the kids say. It's really, really bleak. And you talk about regulations, specifically in the auto sector. Let's spare a thought for the EV mandate by other means, which is the emission standards.
Tailpipe emissions.
Yeah, exactly. That's obviously there's another kick in the bollocks. It's almost like they want to get rid of them. It's almost like they want to make themselves uncompetitive. It's very, very strange behavior.
They have one goal, and it's the same as the raises for CBC. When they got that extra $150 million this year, they're just like, people in Canada protested the CBC executives are taking bonuses as we laid off staff. Okay. So the workaround, significant raises that are even bigger than the bonuses. You like that, Canada? Hey, thumbs up, no bonuses, just a big fat raise.
Meanwhile, as well, rather than get this deal done that Mark Carney said he was going to get, the Wall Street Journal two-parter, I assume most people have read it by now. You read that and you think, all right, that's what he's been doing. Instead of trying to get a deal, Carney's been going and chatting with the Finnish and the French and all sorts of people and trying to persuade Keir Starmer to back off the United States, talking to the British about how they're going to, allegedly anyway, about how they're going to create a kind of Five Eyes intelligence alliance that doesn't involve the United States. And just sending texts willy-nilly to try and persuade these European countries or these European leaders that everything must be done to remove, the United States from the Western alliance, basically. So, rather than getting a deal that might keep these companies alive, that might give a certain amount of certainty, certain amount of security to these companies, so they know that they're going to have access to the US market, rather than do that, he's sort of fighting some kind of war in the background against the United States. I can't imagine for 1 minute that those two stories in the Wall Street Journal, they don't really go into what the American reaction is to that, not very much. But I cannot imagine that the American reaction to that is very positive. I think Trump kind of gave the game away a bit, or he gave us an insight when he reacted furiously at Davos, where he said, Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark Carney. Quite an astonishing thing to say in international relations. So, yeah, I do wonder how, whether Mark Carney's efforts are helping or harming Canada's industrial sector.
A cynical mind might think that this is intentional, weaken Canada to the point where we beg to join Europe, just actually destroy the relationship, the best relationship we've ever had as a nation, destroy that relationship, weaken Canada to the point where it has to beg for the Europeans to kind of take us in. And look at the Europeans.
Which is in that article as well, how that's been discussed in sort of ironically but seriously kind of thing, jokey serious remarks about that. Again, we've talked about all the reasons why Canada shouldn't and probably won't join the European Union. But one of the things we haven't spoken about is the fact that the Americans would never let that happen. Do you seriously think they would let that happen? Friend or foe, doesn't matter. The Americans wouldn't let that happen. Of course they wouldn't. Look how America reacts when things go iffy, not just on its border, but in what it considers to be its hemisphere. Look at what they do, including flying in helicopters to kidnap the leader of a foreign country that's in that hemisphere. The Americans, like any self-respecting great power, the Americans act in their interests, especially when it's close to home. And that's precisely what they would do. The whole thing is fanciful, but it's almost designed to activate that part of the American lizard brain. So they're like, what? Do we have to look at Canada as questionable now? Do we have to do a coup in Canada? That. It's almost designed to antagonize the Americans.
It is Canada. The Canadians are in an abusive relationship. Mark Carney has many reasons, if you were a cynic as well, to not like Donald Trump, because the world was his oyster with Brookfield. Net Zero Alliance, he had all the banks in line there with GFANS. He was the chair of the Net Zero Alliance. He was the chair of GFANS, and he was on the UN, the world stage, consolidating power at a world level. All these things, and that's what he's trying to do right now with this military bank. He loves this world things. He was one of the founders of the WEF. The evidence is there. You don't need a lot of strings. And here's more on this. Just to emphasize this for the manufacturers, how serious this is. And where's Doug Ford's voice in all this? Where is Doug? Where are you, Doug? Where are you, Doug? Captain Canada. 42% have already moved or planning to. 57%, this is the key one. This is the one that I will tell you that this is the most important stat. 57% have paused or canceled investment in their business. This is all important. That same thing goes with the oil industry in Alberta. 61% can't survive without American access. Really, Sherlock Holmes? The Japanese ambassador said it on CTV with Vasi there. We only make cars here so we can sell them to the Americans. Jolie completely oblivious to that, though, right?
That's even as well. That's even the Chinese objective, by the way. That's why they're trying to get cars in Canada. It's like everybody. There is no, I'm sorry to say, there is no car company on this planet or any other sort of company on this planet that sees Canada as like the final destination.
And then who are
That's the
these
market
people?
we want to crack.
Who are these people that actually believe Melanie Jolie? She says that the Chinese are going to build cars here in Canada and literally to sell them to the Middle East. And she knows that, but she can't tell you who it is. People put their trust in Melanie Jolie in that comment. When if you just bought a globe, I don't even think globes are that expensive. A map and just kind of fold it, just kind of roll it and fold it and turn it into a globe, kind of make it a globe. You'll see that why would the Chinese make EVs in Canada to ship them back to the Middle East when it's quite, a short jaunt there to sell them right out of Shanghai?
Well, or, if it's going to Europe as well. Do they think the Europeans... Well, do they think that's economical to start with? Obviously, it's not. But do they think the Europeans would just say, oh, yeah, great. Let's get our cars from Canada. Screw our auto workers. Let's just get them from Canada. This doesn't happen. It's just completely fantastical. But I would say about buying a globe. You can get a globe on Tinternet for less than a single canapé. A single Government of Canada canapé, which we saw go for $50 or something like that, don't they, per canapé? You can get one for less than.
You need a globe. You need to understand the globe. And the liberal policy on automobiles is an attack on the auto worker on both sides of the border. It is an attack on the Canadian auto worker, and it is an attack on the American auto worker. It is an attack on their wages and their way of life. And Doug Ford can't see it for some reason, and Melanie Jolie can't see it. Where is my fancy globe? I don't know where my globe went. What happened? Did we have to give it up to keep the lights on in here? Did we have to sell the globe? Look at that. The Desert Fox is just like, nope, the globe survives.
Look at that.
Get a globe, eh? Just get a globe. Right? We're this country up here. Yeah, the globe survives.
That's a really important context. Not a lot of people know that.
And then,
by the way, though, doesn't this just imagine you're Donald Trump reading this? Read like this tweet, literally this summary of the KPMG thing, and put that in the context of the comment that Justin Trudeau made to Donald Trump, saying, if you withdraw, if you change the economic relationship, we'll die as a country. He'll look at that and he'll say, oh yeah, so I was right. Like, I was right to say that they can't. Or Trudeau was right and I was right. Canada can't survive without the United States. This is the sort of thing that led him to say that ridiculous remark about Canada joining the US, isn't it? He's looking at things like this and he's saying, well, it's not viable. It's just interesting. And another thing I would say is a lot of people are thinking, well, that chap we just saw there, Gavin Newsom, he's probably going to win the next election anyway. So everything will be fine once that happens. Do you think that you can put this toothpaste back in the tube, even if it's a Democratic president? Do you think so? You think the Democrats are going to ignore that? See the way that Joe Biden behaved? And other Democrats as well. It's like the Democrats, if that's your strategy, then you need a new one. The Democrats aren't going to come in and just completely undo all this. It can't be unseen. What they've beheld cannot be removed from their memory. The Democrats are going to do the same sort of thing. I can almost guarantee it.
I just want to remind people, too, that we have a good interview lined up here. A well-renowned lawyer is going to come on here that helps companies and people relocate. And we've talked to too many people. There's so many questions. We just want questions answered. So our job is to provide the information. We're not encouraging people to leave. I want people to stay and fight. Stay and fight. We need to change these policies. Like, the policies must change. Canadians must come first. And look at this, like everything in Canada, it seems like that the Liberals are promoting under the NDP, it seems like, is tied to government spending. So here's the Liberals gave away that subcontract to the Germans and the Koreans are just like, oh, yeah, okay, so we're pulling out. So those deals they were going to do, here's the $3.2 billion hydrogen plant that was going to go in BC. They're saying, no, not anymore. So tied to government spending. So is it really an investment in Canada, or is it just accessing government spending? What is it? Because if this was really about a good investment in Canada, they'd continue. So this is tied. You spend billions with us, and we'll spend 3.2. You give us like 100 billion, we'll give you back 3.2. So you could stand at the podium and pitch it.
Well, that was the arrangement with the people in their neighborhood, like Honda, for example. That's quite often the arrangement, isn't it? You come to Canada and you expect massive handouts.
You got to buy the jobs. You got to buy the jobs, and I can't remember the number now off the top of my head. But some of the job purchasing was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per job. What good is that for the Canadian taxpayer? And again, the people for the Meta deal, no government money. It's actually, and go watch the show we did with Global Traveler on Friday. It answers the questions on water. It answers the questions on energy and all that stuff. It's all there. Yeah, and I agree with James there. Who's buying hydrogen? Like Elon Musk, I'll just snicker when they talk about hydrogen.
Yeah, I mean, this is hardly something to weep over. I would say it's completely absurd. And the South Koreans probably thought this was daft as well. But when in Rome, you got to do what the elites think is good. So it's like, oh yeah, and we'll do hydrogen, and they're like laughing behind the scenes. But whatever you say, me lord.
So the best thing that the best use of hydrogen right now, it's a battery. It's a battery. It's different than a lithium battery. So you have excess energy, and you turn it into hydrogen, which is basically because energy has to be used as it's created, right? Like you can't store electricity, like unless you're, what's that guy off of Percy Jackson, the lightning thief. You can't store it in a box. You can't but you can store it by converting it to hydrogen and then using the hydrogen as energy. But I think it's about 60%. There's a huge loss. And Canada right now is a net importer of electricity. So where's this excess energy to create the hydrogen? I don't see it.
But there are so many better ways to generate electricity anyway, aren't there? Like natural gas. Need I say more? Canada's got an embarrassment of riches when it comes to natural gas. Just use natural gas. Then you don't need to store it. You just turn it on, or you just keep it on. Just keep it on even when you're not using it. We've got enough natural gas to do that. Who cares? Just burn it all the time. Who cares? It's fine. But also, you're saying a way to store renewable energy, solar and wind and stuff like that. I mean, another way to store energy that wouldn't upset Stephen Guilbeault, or probably still would upset him, but is dams. You can do it with dams. Unfortunately,
literally a battery. A dam is a battery.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's rather hard to build. It's rather hard to build a warehouse. It's rather hard to build a hut in Canada these days. Never mind a gigantic hydroelectric dam. So that might be a solution to a lot of these problems. But I would just say you're staring at the most obvious tool in the world, of which we have an abundance, which is natural gas. Just use natural gas. If it's good enough for the Americans to fly ahead of all of our economies and become like unassailable, at least in economic terms, I think it's good enough for us.
Tiff Macklin, Bank of Canada expected to hold interest rates. No, it's no shit, Sherlock, because you raise interest rates in this environment, and you will basically, maybe that's what they want to do. They would basically choke this economy into stagflation, like literally choke it off. Look at, already nobody wants to invest in Canada. The manufacturer's not investing. That's what matters, the investment, is investing in productivity, right? That's key, investing in productivity. If you make the loan interest higher, another reason not to. Again, if you're sitting in the boardrooms, you have to think from that perspective. If you're sitting in the boardroom, you can go to the United States, less regulation, actually fast-tracking you right now, and less taxation, no tariff things. It's like almost a no-brainer. And in Canada, punishment. Continual punishment. Look at the auto sector. You stay in Canada, you got to meet tailpipe emissions. And across the border, they've reduced the tailpipe emissions. American legacy automakers don't make money selling EVs other than Tesla. That's the only company in the world, by the way, that makes money selling EVs. That's the only one. Even the Chinese don't make money because they're just flooding the market.
It's another form of warfare, basically, isn't it? It's another form of conflict. Somebody here's, because we were talking about dams, Bernie Moore says, hydro dams kill off all the salmon. I don't know how many dams do this, but there's the dam in, the Columbia River. Can't remember what it's called now, but that dam in the US, it's a massive dam. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's in the US on the Columbia River. They let you go in and they let you look at how they get the fish through, and you can watch the little salmon friends. It doesn't kill all of them because loads of them go through those tubes. So the salmon are preserved.
Fish ladders, yeah, and the name of that dam is right on the top of my head. I've stopped there, I've been to that dam, I've actually had a tour of that dam. Yeah, but
it's really cool. It's like maybe not an obvious tourist trip, but it's really cool. I really enjoyed that trip.
Hoover, I don't think it's the Hoover Dam. Is it the Hoover Dam?
Something Gorge or something. Let's have a look. I'll see if I can find it now because I'm too curious.
Dam. Anyway, the headline of our story was Canadians in an abusive relationship? Because here, look at this. The economy sucks. The unemployment number is high. And right now, we shared this. Canadians getting caught in pre-spent paycheck trap. If you put up the next slide there. This is what we're talking about. People are using, I think the app's called Kudu or something, where you're actually buying the food now, paying later. And this is I've had that MNP trustee, bankruptcy trustee on here several times. Jeanette, I'll have to reach out and get her again because here's a new survey. Their quarterly barometer of Canadian household finances found that 3 in 5 respondents said at least half their income is already committed to bills, debt payments, and regular expenses before it arrives. A third said most of their paycheck is taken. 16%, it's all spent. So they're living off the future already. We talked about it last week, spending savings. Many Canadians are not just living paycheck to paycheck, they're entering each pay period with much of that paycheck already spoken for. And we talked about this stat many times. Half Canadians now are $200 away from meeting their monthly obligations. And that's up 3 points from last quarter. 28% said they don't have enough to cover their obligations. 28% in Canada. 28% of Canadians right now say they don't have enough to cover their monthly obligations. 11% below the poverty line. Record food bank lineups. High unemployment. Some of them, banging on double digits for youth unemployment in Canada. That's our future. And the Liberals portray this as success. Francois Philippe Champagne. Canada has the strongest economy in the G7. Mark Carney. Affordability has never been so good in the last decade. Notice how he has a booming voice, eh? It's all, and in the media, they just parrot it. They just say, oh, this is the next message. We're going to show you some evidence of that. They just like, oh, here's the next message. We need to get that out to the public. You need to get those people off of CBC and CTV. They need to get the truth. Share this far and wide. Share it far and wide. And Canadians need to understand they're in an abusive relationship. What do you do to your friend that's in an abusive relationship? You know what I mean? If you're going over there and their partner is continuing to abuse them, do you just say, it's okay. Just leave it. It'll be fine.
It's just completely... I just have to say that again, what you said. Almost half of Canadians said they are $200 or less away from not being able to pay their bills. So basically $200 that is the cushion between them and insolvency, pretty much. Like zero in the bank account. $200. 50%.
And what happened to energy? What happened to energy just recently? Way up, right? I mean, energy is in an immediate tax basically on the consumer. Because if it goes from, like $60 a fill up to $100 a fill up, that's huge. That's a significant difference overnight. And those are after-tax dollars, right? So to put an extra $40 in your tank each time costs you like $80 to get that.
Yeah.
Energy.
And
that's,
no, we talk about supply management. The studies are in. The studies have been done. Look at them. Read the studies. I implore you. Look how much it's estimated that maintaining supply management costs the average Canadian consumer. If half of Canadians are $200 away from financial death, that would be very, very consequential to them if supply management was to be reformed or dismantled. And then all of a sudden, milk, chicken, things like that stop costing as much as they do. That would expand that cushion quite nicely. And if you also, as you say, did the energy side of things, it could make their lives a lot better. But in that context, you start to look at the policy decisions and you have to arrive at an obvious truth. Policies in this country for a long time have not been made with these people in mind. You know, it's not about them. They obviously don't really care about those people, do they? I'm sorry to say, or they don't know about them, one or the other. So they, as you say, they pop their silly little heads up and they brag about how brilliant the economy is. When this is happening, 50% of all Canadians, $200 away from bankruptcy. That's completely insane. How could you even find it in yourself to go on TV and talk about how good the economy is and what a good job you've done with the economy when that's happening? It's just such an obvious disconnect between what they say and reality, isn't it? And
then ask yourself about the media, other than independent media, the government-funded media that goes along with it actually acts as their shill, acts as their mouthpiece, their town crier, and pushes this out till Canadians believe it. Basically, like Catherine McKenna said, if you say it loud enough and long enough, they'll actually believe it. And that's what they use the media for. That is their MO. Say it loud and long, and then people will buy it. That's what an abusive relationship is like.
And let's just reiterate, this is MNP. This is not just like, this is not a poll on Twitter. This is MNP. They do it 4 times a year, don't they?
Yeah.
It's quite a serious undertaking. It's not messing about. So it's something to really contemplate, I think.
You know, I used to post a ton on LinkedIn, but now we're doing this more, and I don't post a lot. I used to get like 500,000 views a month on LinkedIn. I have a very active profile there. I used to anyway. But I get attacked on there. You know, they call me, like we showed you that comment, Maple Mega and stuff like that, and endangered to society, all these things. Never attack the things I'm talking about, right? It's always just personal attacks. And if I check their profile, they're literally usually always living off the government, connected to the government. Like that guy there, the Financial Post guy, taking tax dollars.
He doesn't work for them anymore, but yeah, I think that was his history.
Right? Look at this one here too. Canadians who bought beef in the last decade could get a share of $8 million price fixing settlement. Did the same thing on bread. What was it, a $5 billion settlement for fixing bread? We have too many oligopolies here in Canada that are protected, too strong a lobby groups. And what's that national registry? What's the fine for that? It's less than a parking ticket. Like they have access. Like Tim Hortons was literally using the immigration department as their HR, as their HR. They were selling stories and the media went along with it. The media went along with it and said, oh yeah, Tim Hortons needs workers. Pay them more. While Canadian youth was banging on the door 20% unemployment. And the media has no shame or no guilt. Like, who do they work for? They take your tax dollars. They literally take tax dollars out of the pockets of people that can't afford to give anymore. They can't afford that right there on the screen. Like, I mean, look at that steak, your mouth starts to water. Most people can't afford that right now. Most people cannot afford that right there. Like, that's crazy. That's a luxury in Canada. That's a luxury item. Well, the politicians, we're going to show you some evidence here. You're not going to believe it. The stuff we have coming up, unbelievable. Stick around. It's crazy. Well, they live high off the hog while you go without. And it's supposed to be the other way around.
I assume that's what the canapes look like at the what was it, the Food Credit Bank or something? I can't even remember what.
Farm Credit
Farm.
Corporation. Yeah, Farm.
Yeah. Another thing I'm interested in, and I don't think we can ever find this because it probably wasn't documented. I would be interested to know how many of those canapes ended up in the garbage. Because usually people
Hey,
don't eat
more.
everything,
Hey,
do they?
the taxpayer will provide more. It doesn't matter. The taxpayer will provide more.
And they'll also provide the waste disposal services.
Stop going to Tim Hortons. Just tell them no. Pay back Canada. You owe Canadians billions and billions of dollars for what the damage you've done to this nation. Nearly 80% of Canadian jobs were where? Take a guess which province. You want to take a shot at it? Put up that next slide. Where do you think that is? Which province? Want to guess? Ian and I talk about it all the time. Who's the engine of Canada? Who's the engine? Woo-hoo! Who's riding the train right now? Who's driving a train? It sure ain't Ontario, and it sure isn't David Eby in British Columbia, and it the hell ain't Wab Canoe.
Where's the money going, though? So I'm going to guess Alberta is what you're looking for. But where does it go? If it's a train, where's the money train? Where's the terminus? Where does that money stop? I think they might speak a very nice Latin language known for its beauty.
So Canada added 99,000 jobs last year. Where was 80,000 of them? That's right, Wildrose, the Wildrose province. The hardworking Albertans, right? The ones that get called treasonists, the ones that get called all kinds of names. And, now in the media running stories about how Alberta is just like, this hotel and how, Albertans are just ungrateful. Ungrateful. What did Stephen Guilbeault call them? Ungrateful. We gave them a pipeline. They wouldn't even vote for more Liberals, right? Ungrateful.
Meanwhile, let's get worried about Quebec separatism. That's what he said, which is legit. That's a legit kind of separatism, unlike these sketchy fellas.
Alberta is home to about 12% of the population, but accounted for close to 80% of the jobs. Look at that. Look at that stat. Look at that stat in reality. It's a small province when you talk about population. It accounted for 80,000 jobs. What is that, like 80% of the jobs in Canada? And that announcement by Daniel Smith, let's not get on the data center, that announcement is the biggest investment in Canada in a long time without government money. There was no government money doled out there. It wasn't like David Eby just like bailing out condos. The media in Canada is the problem. They're literally the problem. If they watched Ian and I every morning, this country is a completely different country. So get it out there. Share this wherever you can. Share it. Thank you to Angel for that, for helping us. We got some big plans. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, not only did it not get any government money, the data center project, but to my knowledge, it still hasn't even been mentioned by them.
No, because it's not there.
Even though it's like an enormous win for Canada.
It's like Evan Solomon, the AI expert, the one that says Canada's leading the world in AI. What a clown. They think the clownish comments. Evan, come on the show. You're a former journalist. You should know that. You were accredited. You can come on. You can come on and explain to us how Canada leads the world in AI. Explain it to us. Explain it to us like we're stupid even. We'd like that.
I'm sure we can automatically assume that that's what he'll think. So.
And here's David Eby. Quebec and British Columbia shed a total of 67,000 jobs in the past 12 months. But according to Ravi Kahlon and David Eby, they're killing it. Absolutely killing it. Did you see the press release from Ravi Kahlon on Friday there when, Canada put out those 18,000 jobs or whatever? All to do with FIFA, part-time jobs, chambermaids and servers. And Ravi just, look at Canada, we're growing British Columbia. What are you going to do next month, Ravi? Just be quiet, right? But here, it
says here as well, the pull is affordability. The average home in Toronto, or in the Toronto area, now costs over $1 million. In Alberta's two largest cities, it is far less. I can see the temptation for Calgary and Edmonton, says whoever this guy is. Is it just that though? It's not just about houses. Loads of places in Canada you can get cheaper houses than Edmonton and Calgary. You know, like the Maritimes, much
What else?
cheaper houses.
What else you get cheaper there? You know, I've interviewed the head of the BC Car Association here. He said literally people are buying cars in Alberta, like buying a condo in Alberta, so that they can have an Alberta address, so they can buy an expensive car, because it saves them like $30,000. They use the $30,000 then, the difference between the car purchase in British Columbia and Alberta, to pay the down payment on the condo. Think about that. Think about that. The difference. And then the same thing, and if you go to sell, like say an Escalade is like a Cadillac SUV. You know, like the difference is about $30,000 between purchasing in British Columbia or purchasing in Alberta brand new from a dealership. Now think when you got to go to sell that vehicle, the person in Alberta starts with a $30,000 advantage over the person in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Plus, if you sell it in Alberta, there's no tax. If you sell it in British Columbia again, that same vehicle is subjected to, I believe it starts at 12%, but that's going to be a more expensive vehicle depending on where it is. Could be up to this 14% tax difference on a used vehicle purchased in, like I think in Ontario too, versus Alberta. No sales tax in Alberta. Alberta's starting to look pretty damn good, isn't it?
Also got the Rocky Mountains, not too shabby.
And then people, disparage Alberta, the engine of Canada. Literally right there, there's the stats. Experts say, science is in. Check your blood pressure. Look at the number watching right now, 666. Check your blood pressure. This might be an ominous moment here. Are you sitting down? You can put the next slide up. Boom. Ready? Boom. This is just absolutely... Can you believe the smile on the guy's face? A completely disastrous Crown Corporation still taking bonuses. Can you believe it? Canada Post managers last year pocketed $31 million in bonuses. Even as CEO Doug Entiger told Parliament the organization was on the brink. Literally on the brink, they still took their share of the cat, right? They still took the money. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it?
It's impossible to believe, frankly, isn't it, that they thought that was something they deserved.
Canada Post has 2,377 management employees at all levels across Canada, including 417 at the executive level. Management employee group totaled these bonuses at $800,000. You can do without. You can pay more. You can't afford meat. You can't afford to make your monthly obligations. This corporation burns, I think it's like $10 million loss a day, and they still took a bonus from the taxpayer. They took the bonus because they had to take more money from the taxpayer because they can't meet their obligations. They took more money. I can tell you right now, if I was the Prime Minister today, I would fire this guy. I would absolutely fire anybody that's involved in the decision, their CFO, every one of them, clean the executive suite out, fire them all, say there will absolutely never be a bonus here again, and make them pay this back. And nobody gets bonuses until this thing's profitable. You shouldn't get a bonus if it's not profitable. It's common sense. You take a bonus in your company if it's not profitable, because who are you going to steal it from, right? These people get to reach into your pocket and steal it from you.
I mean, you've got to make a hell of a pitch to the shareholders if you're in a private, if you're in a listed company. You've got to make an enormous, or even if you're a private company, you've got to make a massive appeal to your backers, to your funders, to try and get something like that when your company's failing. Say, oh yeah, but we need the bonuses for this reason. This is our great plan. But if it's the taxpayers that are funding your bonuses, you don't have to do anything like that. You just demand it, complain, and it's just entitlement. And sure enough, if it comes from the taxpayer, it will indeed land in your bank account.
The lunatics are all about language, right? It's all about language and manipulation, right? Because they don't call it bonuses here. They don't want you to call it bonuses. They call it at-risk performance program. At-risk performance program. That meaning, what does that mean? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, they'll leave if they don't get their bonus? What about the person not able to eat, can't feed their kids, can't put gas in their car? They're at risk, aren't
We
they?
don't mean that kind of risk. No. What about people in the military? Are they not at risk of a bullet landing in their forehead or being asked to go and shoot someone else? Is that not risky?
Listen to the quote here from Doug, because he doesn't even know how to keep his language correct here. Listen to this quote, direct quote. In the broader compensation program, to keep that talent, we paid a bonus last year. At-risk pay. He can't even keep his language straight. It was part of their compensation. They don't care. They absolutely don't. You are in an abusive relationship. You're literally in an abusive relationship and you're getting abused. Like the taxpayer in Canada. More than half your income is going towards taxes. So that guy, and his entourage there can just have more canapes. At risk. Should be cleaned house. You should be fired immediately. Remember Dr. Noma Meaner with the first class flights? She don't care. The Farm Credit Corporation CEO with a $500,000 salary and $500,000 in expenses. I mean, if you're not angry yet, I don't know what will make you angry.
This next bit will make you angry. The post office, despite its troubles, the post office also continued to spend millions on climate programs last year, even while incurring record losses. Spending included $22.3 million on net zero initiatives, $5 million on renewable energy contracts, $511,000 on carbon offsets, and $267,000 on EV charging stations.
They treat you like you're a bloody fool. They literally treat you like a fool. This is Mark Carney's agenda, this climate religion.
But that's non-negotiable. Bonuses and money for EV charging stations and net zero initiatives, etc. That's non-negotiable. That cannot possibly be negotiated away. So then you have to ask yourself, why is it that lots of other things disappear? Other things are negotiable. For example, 50% of all Canadians being $200 away from financial death. You know, okay, all right then. As long as we can get the bonuses for the management at Canada Post, and as long as we can get the $22.3 million for net zero initiatives at Canada Post. Priorities. You know, they what's the term for it? Revealed preferences, isn't it? That's the term where, as opposed to what people might say are their preferences or their priorities. So lots of people will say, you know, my priority is to live a meaningful life or something like that. But then you look at what they've done in their lives and it all adds up together. Maybe actually they just want to make money. They do all these corporate jobs and so on, but they talk about, I just want to be meaningful. I want to do good for people. Okay, that's what you say. What you do is take jobs that give you the most money. Look at this government. Look at our managerial class. Look what they say and then look at what they do. Just focus on the do part. And this is very much the do part, isn't it? These are the priorities of our elite. It doesn't seem to be representative of the priorities of people in this country, a majority of the people in this country. And I thought that was democracy. I thought that was the point of democracy.
Do we want the comments, all the comments to stream on there? I'm not sure, because I mean, I think that might encourage some people to put up some pretty nasty stuff there. Desert Fox. I think it's just going to encourage like some of the loonies to go in there. I think selective comments might be a better idea than all the comments. Yeah. I just think the loons will show up there and they'll just start spamming the comments. I know we have moderators in there too.
Sinmeister has been doing a hell of a job here. I'm just looking at her efforts.
She's amazing.
Salute you.
You can do something. We have a tool for you. Go on the reallybigshow.ca. Go on there and go right down to the bottom, I believe. And there's all the MPs. You can search all the MPs. Find them, especially the ones in your riding. Find them. Send them an email. Say, remember the old movie Network? where the guy sticks his head out of the window and says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? That's the email. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Taxpayers cannot continue to give money that they can't afford to give. So guys like this right here, this guy here, can take bonuses and dole them out to a staff like it's an elite class. Like, you are being abused. You're literally being abused. This is abuse of power and privilege. And it's systemic. You want to use that word systemic somewhere instead of systemic racism in our, they say systemic racism in healthcare, systemic racism in the federal government. You know what's systemic? Abuse of the taxpayer. That's the systemic thing in the federal government and provincial government for that matter. It's systemic. And the people getting abused. Think of the taxpayer as the host. These guys are parasites. This guy's literally a parasite. Doesn't even provide value. Literally a parasite on this economy.
It doesn't provide value to the extent that private companies have just come in and completely taken the place of the organization that he's in charge of. And that's all they do is complain about these private companies. Well, maybe if you'd been able to do the job, they wouldn't have popped along.
Do you think you're going to get this from CBC? All you're going to get there, CBC, they're parasites as well. 1.4 is their regular budget. They got 1.6 this year because they got that raise because Mark Carney, got that win there and he gave him an extra 150 million, which they doled out to bonuses. And they're not the only people that do this. Global News did this as well. Go read their financial statements. They're public. As their stock went from like in near $20 down to 3 cents, and they laid off 25% of the staff, another 25, and they just kept laying off staff. The executives took bonuses too. This elite class in Canada continues to take bonuses for failure. They reward failure in Canada. They reward failure, and you pay the price. You pay the price because that was government money too from Global. That was government money. They're living off the government money, the taxpayer. It's atrocious.
But as this fella said, there's an amazing. I just read an amazing part. Here we go. I don't know if you said it earlier, but if you did, I'm going to say it again. He said the people who got bonuses were important people. This is something we've had then. My biggest problem is we're getting people stolen away from us who are great people. So important people and great people, they must be given bonuses because they're important people. Not like you, obviously. If you're $200 away from bankruptcy, I'm sorry, but you're just not important.
Here, to add this, you just keep going with this. 11%, this is another one here. Put this next one up. 10%, 10.7% bonus is only fair. That's according to a memo. Only fair. And if you really cared about Canada, Prime Minister Carney, you would put a halt to this immediately. You make them pay it back, actually. 11% bonuses for Fed execs are proportionate and fair, says a memo to the Treasury Board President. Shafqat Ali. Bonuses averaging almost 20 grand executive were paid last year, even as cabinet told Canadians these are tough times and you're going to have to make sacrifices. Why don't you make a sacrifice? Shafqat.
Because they're important. Shafqat Ali, not Kumquat Ali. Shafqat Ali and other people are important people. They're higher grade people. These are the people that we have to fight for and protect and ensure that they're comfortable. They matter.
Remember this, write them, MPs, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Push back as hard as you can. Send an email every 5 minutes. Have an AI bot send one every 2 minutes. Just flood it. Get one from your kids, get one from your partner, get one from your grandma, get one from wherever you can. Flood their email systems with it. Flood their systems with, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. $146.3 million performance pay for federal execs in 2024 and 25. The reason we get this old, this is from Blacklocks, is because they don't release the information. Because you know why they don't release the information? It'll make you angry, right?
That's what they said.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, it'll make you angry. That's the same thing. The guy that has that $8.8 million penthouse suite there in Central Park in New York City, and the $4,700 coffee machine. They said you're going to stop sharing this information because it just makes the Canadian public angry. The ones you're fleecing, literally the ones you're fleecing, They don't want to share that information where they steal from you. They steal what you can't even afford to give anymore. It'd be different if, you had food falling off your table and you take a little bit. But this is taken from people that can't afford to give.
But highlighting it, as you are doing now in an irresponsible fashion, that threatens social cohesion, doesn't it? Which is why you have to be banned right now.
So yeah, Ian and I will be banging rocks somewhere because of this, because we're just sharing. So we're waiting for all these people that are going to call us something for this, because these are truth. This is data. This is truth. This is from internal memos. But according to the apologists for this garbage, they're going to say that Ian and I are maple mega. Can you put that on pancakes, by the way? Maple mega. Is that like syrup?
It does sound like food, doesn't it?
Because I'll have some then. $146 million performance pay. But see, they didn't get the language right. It's not performance, it's at-risk pay. At-risk pay. I like how they manage the language. Yeah. And you're not mad yet?
Or don't. Hey. He wasn't even good enough to do it, was he?
You couldn't afford a soccer ticket? You couldn't afford one? Did you go? Did you couldn't afford it?
Obviously.
Well, hey, it was free for the feds and the VIPs, hey? Why wouldn't it be? There was a thing, like in city council here in Kelowna, you're not allowed to take a free ticket for anything. You're not allowed to take free tickets for events. But according to this, cabinet members and political aides received dozens of free passes to attend FIFA World Cup, including 4 staff and a summer student in the office of the Liberal MP, Adam van Koerden. Whatever. These the tournament cost taxpayers $1.07 billion.
It's good that you did that in that accent, because that's the right accent to describe this kind of corruption, I think, isn't it?
Attendance provided the opportunity to celebrate Canada's hosting experience, said Van Koerden. What about for the rest of Canada? You took Canadian taxpayer dollars so that you could experience it. You took money from people that can't afford to give it so that they could have an experience. What do the Canadians get to experience? You stole their money and used it so that you could have an experience. That's elitism thinking. That's elitist think right there. That they are more important than you. They'll take your money so that they could experience something that's important to them. They shouldn't take anything free.
But again, actions and words. Look at these actions. I think it speaks for itself. These really are. As that ineloquent CEO of Canada Post put it, since he was too daft to try to mask his language. These are the important people. These are the people for whom this whole enterprise is kept going. They're the special people. And the special people include Ariana Chua, an intern who received a free pass to watch Germany play Ivory Coast, to support the Secretary of State for Sport in his official duties. What else can I say? These are the people for whom this whole operation runs. These are the beneficiaries. Unfortunately, us plebs, we're just not important people. So we don't deserve to go and see the World Cup that we all paid for. Because obviously not, because it's too expensive. Are you daft? But if you're lucky enough to be a catch fart hanging off the back of some nobody like this guy, all right, you can go. You'll get free stuff. Of course you will.
Tim Hodgson got a couple free tickets to see Switzerland play Algeria. The Beaver, is the Beaver ready? Is the Beaver up? Because the Beaver got some tickets too. He got to watch Croatia play Portugal. Why not?
Wow. Got to see Cristiano Ronaldo. That's quite an in-demand ticket. Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric, two of the kind of greats of the game, got to see them play each other for the last time, basically, like the last appearance of the World Cup.
Francois Philippe Champagne indulged. Mark Miller, the Heritage Minister, and his aide, Peter Cox, went. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
So Miller took Cox to the World Cup, and had a great time. I mean, on our dime. Miller and Cox having a great time on our dime. Now there's a rhyme.
Go to our website, thereallybigshow.ca. Go down there at the bottom, you're going to find the MP thing. Search your MP, search all the MPs and start sending emails. Write an agent, write a bot, I don't know, whatever it is. I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. I watched The Really Big Show. I'm fed up with your garbage media. Watch The Really Big Show. Send them that too. I get my information. I get the truth from The Really Big Show. We should have a moment of silence for the taxpayer right now, because you got to get out of this abusive relationship before it's too late. Yeah. Mark Carney talked tough. Like this is like all too tiring. You can put up the next one there. You know, they talk tough on this bridge. The media talk tough. You know, the David Cochran's talk tough. You know, David Cochran leans back in his. You know, if I had a, you know, we had a bigger camera, lean back in his chair with his pen there, and he's just like, you know, he leans back and he just talks tough. Like some kind of like, well, he lives off the taxpayer. He literally lives off the taxpayer. He bleeds the taxpayer. He doesn't care that you can't afford to put food on the table. He takes money out of your literal pocket and stuffs it in his face. So anyway, he backpedaled on this. Now they're giving up this 50% of the tolls to Washington. But here's Mark Carney defending it here as he spins the spin cycle. That's how you're doing your clothes, and he's just like, let's put that on spin. Let's go.
Well, I think there's a couple of things about the deal. First, I'm happy the bridge is going to be open. Yeah, we need it. We need it because we're still expanding trade. Second thing is the word net does a lot of work in this. We are sharing after Canada is paid back. So we get the revenues, then the servicing of the costs of the bridge, and paying the debt of the bridge, and then what's left over, there's a split of that for 15 years. And the U.S. money is invested back in economic development in the region, the U.S. side of the region, obviously, which is going to help drive more traffic. The initial years of this bridge, there is, you know, traffic volumes are going to build up, so there's not going to be a lot of net to split. So look, it's a good deal for Canada, and what's really good is getting the bridge done on time, on budget, and to build out together.
On time and on budget? I don't know, but I'm going to guess it's not on time or on budget. I'm just going to take a shot at that.
You know, I'm also going to guess that when eventually the public that's paying for all of this gets to see the actual details of this deal, that it won't be as breezy and happy and sunny as Mr. Carney's making it seem. Why it is he thinks that he can just sit on that information and not release it, I don't know. But I can't think of a reason. I can't think of an excuse. I can't, you know, I've read about this from sources who've been chatting to Canadian press reporters, I think, or CTV, one of them. You know, where's the actual information? Then we'll make our own mind up, and we don't have to just, you know, accept a trust me, bro, from a politician.
They
not known really for being trustworthy, are they, politicians?
They won't release it. I mean, that's the Conservatives are already calling for it. Provide us, because the original crossing agreement was already provided with cooperation from Michigan. You know, if we're going to get this agreement, you know where we're going to get it? The United States.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to get it from. Do you know what I mean? Because Canada won't release it. Again, to the Liberal government, this information does not belong to you. This information belongs to the Canadians' taxpayer. This belongs to the Canadian public. This is the problem with this government. They think it belongs to them. They think you belong to them. You are just like a host so that they could suck the last breath out of you. And this is the story. Like the Melissa Lansman put this out. She said to the PMO's office or whatever, she's just saying, I stopped talking about the bridge. And then so they did a bunch of puff pieces on Mark Carney flipping pancakes. And this is literally a headline in Canada. I've been training all year. Carney masters the art of flipping Stampede flapjacks. No Kuzma deal. None of those things. And the reporter in that question is, why such a change in tone? Like, you guys were adamant that you weren't going to do any negotiating. You just literally 2 days ago in that interview said, when you were asked about the bridge, and you said that, I can't remember the exact answer, but it wasn't this.
It was a meltdown.
Yeah.
He had a meltdown. That was one of his babyish, angry responses. Because and now we know, that was that Mackenzie Gray question. Now we know he must have had an idea that something was in the offing. So he asked a question. That was Carney's response. Like a day or two later, reveals this secret plan that we're still not allowed to see. This is like, again, the media, political culture, the democratic culture in Canada is sick. It's sickened. It's diseased. Its lips have turned blue and it smells funny. It's absolutely insane that people are willing to lie down and take this. This is again, I'll say it again. This is the kind of thing you expect from a country that is not quite third world, but not quite first world, sort of in between the two. This is what you expect. It's absolutely disgraceful.
And the media, it's servile media. You look at the puff pieces that are out there. And they eat it up. They just literally eat it up. And then somebody's shouting out there, and they made sure this made their stories too. Carney, we love you. We love you.
Yeah, that's in there. They made sure to get that bit in, didn't they?
Do you know when in an abusive relationship, lots of times the abused spouse believes they're in love as well, even though they're getting a licking.
Yeah, and often it's because they truly believe that they can't do any better, that they'll never do better than what they've got. That's one of the necessary ingredients of an abusive relationship. The abused person thinks that they're lucky to have the abuser.
I think you just nailed it. Because they're scared that, Polyev will be... that's what the media's done a great job of really painting in such a negative picture of the Conservatives. So that even some people that will admit to you that Carney's not doing a great job. Well, what's the alternative? It's going to be worse. Even though they're in an absolutely abusive relationship where Canadians can't afford to buy food, literally a hunger crisis in Canada, and it's still okay. I literally talked to a reporter. That I know very well. And he said he could literally watch Mark Carney commit a heinous crime in front of him. Like heinous, like murder. And he would still vote for the Liberal Party.
Which is literally what Donald Trump said as a joke, remember? I could shoot somebody in Times Square and they would still love me. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what Donald Trump said. Strange, isn't it, when this person you're discussing almost certainly despises Donald Trump and then goes and says basically the same thing that he said, the same principle.
This here is, I think this story is, you have to question why. There's a lot of people that say this carbon religion was driven by the Chinese, just like this anti-data center stuff is driven by the Chinese to kind of add division in Canada and to slow down our economy. Like many cases of this. Here it is. Carbon capture specialist charged in foreign interference case involving China. Sam Cooper did a big piece on this. Go read it on the Bureau. Former public servant charged with seeking to share government documents with China. Dennis Liu, 65, was researcher at National Resource Canada's Centre for Mineral and Energy Technology for decades, specializing in carbon capture and decarbonization. He was fired in August 23 during the week he was supposed to be retiring. His defense argues there's no evidence that he actually shared any. Thousands of documents he downloaded. Michael Ma's running his defense. Is that the case or what? Court records show that CSIS warned NRC about Liu on 3 occasions. If you go read go read Sam Cooper's piece on this on the Bureau. He even talks more about how there was judges protecting this guy until the evidence was insurmountable.
Same story as well. I've been talking about willful blindness a lot lately, but this is like a vignette from willful blindness where there's like repeated warnings. This person photograph, dodgy everyone, and then 23 years later, he's still there, still working there. Like they tried to take away his access to the emails, the government emails, and then a middle manager found out about it and came in and issued an override, said, no, let's get you back on. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to make sense of it, man. It's astonishing.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's Sam Cooper. Yeah, he's all over this, and he's talking about how this fits a pattern and everything, but it's yet to go to court, so we don't really know much about it. And obviously, it's not been proven in court either. We should emphasize that.
Put this graph
Nonetheless,
on
it's
both
a
sides.
lot of what we've heard before, isn't it? It's like a lot of people are seeing this and thinking, we've heard this story before.
Here's climate religion for you, and all the screamers and the screechers as they ramp this stuff up. There's Canada's contribution, right?
Good job there's a green circle around that, otherwise you might not see it.
And good job that it looks like a soccer ball, right?
Look at that. Look at Europe.
Leave it full screen for a while. Leave it full screen for a while.
Look at Europe. Total Europe. The part of the world that takes this stuff so seriously that they are sort of cutting their own throats to bring down emissions. It doesn't matter. Look, it does not matter. It's completely pointless for them to do that.
So we got China here. China, like a pretty big dot there. Hey, China, it's a pretty big dot. And you got a guy here in Canada working for the Chinese government, allegedly, writing about how we need to decarbonize the world. How much is decarbonizing going on over there?
But it just so happens that fossil fuels have been made the #1 enemy in the world. Fossil fuels are something that the West has, China doesn't have, or doesn't have enough of. I mean, it's a little bit convenient, that, isn't it?
You got us like mad as hell. The really big show.ca, and if the ones that have wherewithal still, if you're not like trying to make your payments, you can make a contribution to independent media as well. But send the letter. Send lots of letters. Send letters all day long. Figure out how to make a bot. Go on ChatGPT and write yourself a bot and just start sending letters. Like flood them with letters. Phone them. Stop them in the street. Stop them in the grocery store and say, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. I get my information from the really big show. Here's another one here. Liberals have given up talking about China's abuses, and that's from a Uyghur activist. Liberal under fire from the Uyghur activist who claims Ottawa's response to the latest move by China to persecute his ethnic minority has been vague and very weak. Really? Mehmet Tohti, executive director at the Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project. Our reaction to China is fading away day by day, week by week, and they won't hear much about transnational repression or gross violations of human rights. Tohti said he thinks the Liberals have given up talking about Chinese government abuses. No, they're shielding it. There's a difference. Michael Ma, literally, and that is one of the most egregious events that happened in committee. Like literally in that thing where he attacked that expert on Chinese slavery, and we thought he would get turfed out of the Liberal Party there. Nope. Mark Carney went to his party the next night and talked him up. You don't matter.
Terrible. But this is, the Chinese, it's so funny that the progressive left is absolutely obsessed with racism, historical genocides, ethnic cleansings, things like that. Like, that's their #1 subject. That's what gets them more excited than anything. Like, there is literally nothing that will arouse and titillate them more than that. It's what they devote so much of their energy to. Yet here we have, live, happening before our eyes, imperialism, ethnic cleansing, all of this stuff. Genocide, if you ask the Canadian Parliament, they said it's genocide was happening to the Uyghurs. Yeah. It's not just the Uyghurs, of course. There are quite a few ethnic minorities in China. Tibet is one example. Tibet is not China. It was conquered. It's a conquest. It's a province that was conquered, a people that was subjugated by the Han Chinese and brought into the Chinese Empire. And then when the communists took over, they effectively, in 1949, they effectively took over the Qing Empire. You know, part of which was Tibet. Why is it that when they see, if they see this sort of thing going on, literally now, today, it's happening at the same time as they're alive? So in other words, something could actually be done about it, rather than, you know, Columbus or something, or Pizarro landing in the Americas. Rather than that stuff that happened in the past, this is actually happening right now. And it's just like water off a duck's back. The liberal cowardice on this is, you know, that's matched by basically every other progressive institution, progressive spokesperson or whatever in the world. They don't seem to care about these people. And not only that, but these people, the Uyghurs at least, the Uyghurs are mostly Muslims. Why does, like, where's the concern from, like, Pakistan and Turkey and all of these loudmouths that like to talk about Muslims being mistreated in places like Amsterdam or whatever it might be? What do they have to say about this? Absolutely nothing. They'd rather take the Chinese money. It highlights flaws in so many worldviews. That sort of ridiculous notion that there's like one world ummah of Muslims and all we Muslims need to protect each other and look out for each other. Unless it's Uyghurs being slapped about by the Chinese, then nah, forget that. Let's forget about how Muslims are all brothers. And then the progressives say the same sort of thing. We're going to protect people from ethnic cleansing, imperialism, worst thing ever. Can't tolerate that for a minute. We have to go back 1,000 years and look at things that the Kingdom of England did in Ireland or something like that. Like, that's how important this issue is to us. But it's happening right now in China. Oh, well, you know, can't fix the world, can't do everything, can we?
You want some more incompetence? Federal agents put this story up. Can't track foreign fugitives. Can't keep up with deportation of foreign fugitives. Literally, we shared that story last week. Was it last week or the week before? Now, literally, the guy was in jail several times with an active deportation order, and he still didn't get deported. And he committed, I can't remember, multiple infractions or crimes. They say they can't keep up with deportation of foreign fugitives, and that's according to figures in Privy Council briefing. Current targets are thousands short, data shows. The Border Services Agency removed over 18,000 inadmissible people last fiscal year, the most in a decade. The border plan provides funding for the agency to increase the rate at which it removes inadmissible people from Canada to complete 20,000 removals for each of the next 20 years, or next 2 fiscal years. How can there be that many people in here that, because we just opened the door? The agency in testimony last December 2nd at Commons Public Safety Committee counted 33,000 foreign fugitives in Canada. All had warrants for detention and deportation, including convicted criminals. They literally had one in jail. I mean, pretty tough to catch that one. And, you know, like that's the thing. They do these ICE things, and it's just like, keep people no matter what. We shared that story. Was it last week? We shared this story of a temporary foreign worker from India there that sexually assaulted a young lady, and he got house arrest. And they didn't want to put him on a sex offenders list because for fear that it would interfere with his application to become a permanent resident here in Canada or his immigration status. What?
Didn't want to deprive Canadian citizens of the privilege of living alongside a foreign sexual abuser, sexual offender.
You can put the next one up. Applications for federal government jobs declined 30%. Applications collapsed between 25 and 26, according to new release data, representing a decline of about 30%. That's just applications. show there's 735,000 applications between 25 and 26. How many of those are from people that aren't even Canadian citizens? Lots, right? Lots.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, there's departments we've shown you that if you're a white male, need not apply, basically, right?
Indeed. Universities are the worst for it. I mean, they put it in black and white. It's there to read if you're interested. Look at any job advertisement in academia. You'll see. They don't hide it.
They don't care. This one here is close to home for us. This has to do with we talked about it last week. The Rogers who benefits from the government as well, right? And this is Michelle Rempel Gardner putting it out, retweeting Rachel Thomas's piece there. They live off Bill C-18. Liberals touted Bill C-18, the Online News Act, as a solution to protect and sustain local news. Instead, media giants like Rogers benefit from government-mandated payments while cutting hundreds of jobs and shutting down. And at the same time, they were not just that they're shutting down. They spent tons of money to buy more more entertainment. And so they cut 230 jobs here on these. They closed, 6 stations? 6 local stations were closed completely. Bill C-18 was established. Bill C-18 is literally crushing independent media in Canada. Literally crushing. You can put up that full letter there.
We've asked to interview Rachel Thomas as well, haven't we? So that's...
We're going to have to ask again.
Looks like it, yeah.
Here's our friend. Here's our friend there. The Liberals media was spending a lot of time defending this, saying, but they're, so the Toronto Sun, not so much. But you get secondhand embarrassment. I actually felt embarrassed for Canada when he was doing the bunny hop there. He's 50,
it's humiliating.
He's 54 years old as well. Imagine what his kids must think. I don't know. Maybe they like it.
They're in the same industry, aren't they? At least one of them, anyway. He's a rapper or something, isn't he? One of his kids.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously Justin Trudeau's a gigantic fool, and he's made himself look like a buffoon, and he's degraded himself and Canada. Right. Take that for granted. But what's she got on there? She's in her 40s now, isn't she? What's that dress, man? Is it supposed to be a watermelon or something? Come on. What you wear tells people a lot about what you think of yourself, doesn't it? For good or ill. I mean, I'm not a great fan of fashion and fashion Gestapo people, but what's she trying to tell us by wearing that dress?
He was on another world stage, got another 100K for speaking too, and he was talking about how the world can't have billionaires, how they have to give back money. Nobody needs that much money. The hypocrisy of this guy. Don't use plastic. No plastic for you. Seen with plastic, right? Right? Do you know what I mean? Ban plastics in Canada, but he's there with Katy Perry sucking on plastics. You can't go anywhere. Carbon is so important. He's literally jetting all over the world, living on massive yachts, doing his Instagrams.
Mostly in America, though, it seems.
The hypocrisy of this guy is real. If anything, if you want to put, I guess, he's campaigning for, buffoon and whatever the words that best describe him. Hypocrite is clearly at the front of the line for if you're hard to define. If you're doing a eulogy, like a fair eulogy for Trudeau, you would have to start with hypocrite. Then maybe
somebody's just said they look like twins. They do actually have a physical resemblance, don't they? That's quite. I hadn't put my finger on that, but I think that's true.
Fox did a piece on him. Listen to this piece from Fox News. You're doing well if the media outlets in the world are picking it up as something to because it's just ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Go ahead.
Former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has finally found a job he might actually be qualified for: TikTok backup dancer. Justin Trudeau has been gallivanting around with his girlfriend, former pop star Katy Perry, who posted this video featuring Trudeau bouncing around like a teenager. Jimmy.
Well, to be fair, He did get further into space than Katie did on that pretend Amazon astronaut flight. But dude, have some self-respect. You are the Prime Minister of Canada, and granted that that's the apartment above the garage as far as us Americans are concerned, but you were still in charge of that apartment. Your name was on the lease. You should not be a backup hopper for a D-list pop star. Like Katy Perry, God love her, she is the story of the year, and that year is 2003. The idea that he's hopping around, you talk about, you know when the Democrats try to be like, Trump diminishes the office. Trump hasn't hopped around in the back of a failing pop video, okay?
That's good.
You know, at the very...
That'd be funny to see Trump hopping around, actually.
It is true, though. I mean, so many comments have been made about how he degrades the office because he, for all kinds of reasons, like because he goes on podcasts or he goes to UFC fights and things like that. Is that not degrading the office? And then you could say, oh, well, Trump's in office. Trudeau isn't. They were saying those things about Trump when he wasn't in office, during the interregnum.
Yeah, that reminds me of that song somebody just put up, Dancing Fool. We're still dealing with the Strait of Hormuz. Trump put out this Truth Social. Hormuz is open, remain open. The price of oil did go up a bit. Price of oil right now, in this very moment here, it's up quite a bit now, 76.71. As this again reminds me of a Monty Python skit, where that one knight gets his arms cut off, his legs cut off, and he's like, "Come out here and fight. It's just a scratch." Just a scratch.
Flesh wound.
That's what he said, a flesh wound. Yeah, it's just a flesh wound. Flesh wound. Well, there you go. Look at that. We're under 2 hours here. We got one last thing to share here. International Rock Day, tied to Live Aid, right? That was the honors the anniversary of 1985 Live Aid. Are we going to have to do Live Aid in Canada for food in Canada? Well, the elites take bonuses. Like that is absolutely, this is not just the Canada Post guy. Like we could sit here for a while. The Canada Post guy, okay, so that's one. Mark Carney's, what, millions spent on an in-flight servicing? Like who's on these flights? Dr. Noma Meaner there with first-class flights to Paris with her, close to $500,000 salary for, she couldn't even explain in committee what the heck she does. Like a useless position. The Farm Credit
Everybody's got one. That's what she said.
The Farm Credit Corporation CEO makes $500,000 a year plus bonuses because she gets a bonus. Spend $500,000 in expenses and canopies. Right? She had a almost $50,000 party. This is everywhere. All the federal employees got a bonus. Did you get a bonus? They did send some checks out. Some people got $2 even on that groceries and essential benefits. We showed you that last week. Some people got a whole $2. How much did you get? Julie? How much did Ian get? Let's see. Julie? That's right.
I'm glad we didn't hear her at that time.
Yeah, I'm glad we take the volume off of Julie because, I mean, it's pretty bad, right? And the other thing that's going on today is National Embrace Your Geekness Day. What's your geekiest thing? Like if somebody said, "Oh, Ian's such a geek." Well, I guess you're a historian. That makes you kind of a geek.
People, I mean, there's not one thing. People just say that about me on every single thing you could imagine.
You own that.
I don't know.
You own that.
All kinds of things.
National Barbershop Music Appreciation Day. The quartets.
I like barbershop music. That probably makes me a geek as well, doesn't it?
I like all kinds of music. I even like opera. And
I didn't know she had a band.
Not opera. I went to the Phantom of the Opera in Edmonton once. And I was doing this.
I'm a big fan of opera.
I was doing this, and we were sitting there with all these hotels sitting around us, and my wife says, "What are you doing?" When they were screeching there. And I said, "Changing the channel." She didn't like that.
I would say, though, our Supreme Court Chief Justice, Richard Wagner
Yeah.
is a very, very good composer, and I would, if a lot of people just turned off at the word opera, but Wagner might get you in. He's very good, and there's so many others.
But
that are
here's
very, very good.
the biggest celebration, and many Canadians now at it, and I actually like it. National Beans and Franks Day. Who doesn't like a National Bean and Frank Day? I mean, that was one of my favorite meals when I was a single guy. I ate a lot of, I would put KD. So if you take the beans, the Franks, and the KD, mix that all in, throw in a couple of eggs. That's a stew. That's a poor man's stew. Yeah. That's our show. That's it. That's it. But pretty heavy today. Pretty heavy. Pretty heavy lift.
Not happy days, really.
Like I said, we got some good stuff coming. We did some preliminary interview stuff for our big interview that we're going to get. So we're working on lots of stuff. We're going to go to Washington. We're working on that as well. We're trying to stay out of the whatever that camp is called, Mock Millet's camp, social cohesion. Mark, why don't you come on the show? Come on. Explain to us why Bill C-18 is such a great thing for Canadian media. Explain it to us. Explain it to us like we're stupid. We would like to know. Alberta's the engine. So our salute today, we saluted Daniel Smith on Friday. Let's salute Alberta as the engine of Canada. Doing it right. Doing it right in Alberta. And the Stampede just finished up yesterday for all you Stampeders out there. If you've never been to the Stampede, you need to go. You've never been to the Stampede, have you? No.
Sorry to say. Otherwise, I would have a cowboy hat right here.
Cowboy hat?
But I don't.
Well, you don't want to go as a poser, because you know what I mean. Just because you put on a cowboy hat doesn't make you a cowboy. You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody would mistake me for a cowboy, but I still want a cowboy hat.
That's what I mean. You look like a poser then. So just put on a really big show hat.
Yeah, true.
Because then that's your brand, that's your rep right there. The really big show, hey?
Yeah, if we can get that in cowboy hat form, then
Cowboy hat?
deal.
Cowboy hat? I wore a cowboy hat for a while. I used to live on a ranch, so there you go.
Fair enough.
Chat, mods. I don't know what that means. I'm crazy.
It means win, I think. W.
Oh, I see. There you go. Thank you. Ian would look better in a cowboy hat than Carney. I think Ian would look better in almost anything than Mark Carney. Even in a rucksack, potato sack, gunny sack.
The ladies love a bit of Scarney, don't they? Scarney.
And somebody said earlier that Ian needs a vest. Well, vests have arrived. Ian may be wearing a vest tomorrow. We shall see. Hey? Vested up like a couple of Westerners, eh?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Hey? You
just need a couple of Colts.
Colts? Colt cigars or Colt guns? Because Mark Miller and Gary might be knocking on your door now.
Well, don't worry. We'll just have a chat, and he'll informally agree that it's fine, and he'll help me. He'll bail me out if I get.
Oh yeah, you just tell him that like, hey, that you want to rent one of his places, then everything's good. So you got two choices in Canada. You got two choices. That's what you got. Two choices in Canada. Become part of the elite clique, and you got it made, or start writing letters, start making phone calls, and start saying, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. Your vote matters. That's what they're scared of. Defund the media. All this stuff needs to happen. You start sending if you're following CTV, CBC, any of that stuff, stop. Get people off that garbage. Take away their voice. Take away their power. Send that letter to and tell Pierre Poilievre to get outside onto the steps of Parliament. No more in the gallery there at the bottom of the steps. Just walk by them and say, I'll meet you outside. I'll be outside. You want to talk to me? Come outside. I bet you they don't go at first. I bet you they don't go at first. because they want their power. That takes away their power. Unapologetic merch flash. Yeah, we're gonna. Hey, we're doing all we can, but we can do more every day. Here at 11 a.m. PST, we can do more with your help. That's our show. Look at that.
Starts at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. What did I say?
11, because
oh, it ends at 11.
It ends at 11.
Ah, someone says I like my hairdo. That's a first. Ian gets all the hair stuff. Hey, it's mine. Yeah. I got like a Temu version of Ian's hair. How's that? I don't even know if that qualifies, but hey, that's it. That's our show. Thank you for watching The Really Big Show and Now Media. And we're back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. PST, like every weekday morning. Neither rain, nor snow, nor sleet, or whatever that dead of night. We'll deliver without the bonus that the Canada Post guys took. The Posties took $31 million in bonuses after running an abysmal operation there, losing $10 million a day. And they have the courage. They have the courage, literally, to take a bonus. And they don't want to use the word bonus. They don't like the word bonus. At-risk payment. Isn't that how they whitewash the words, right? That's what they do with you. They use words to silence the people that speak out against them. Tell them to...
Many such cases.
Show them the part of your hand, just the one digit, and say you've had enough. How's that? Cheerio.
Just this bit.
Pip, pip, cheerio. Pip, pip, cheerio. That's it. Run it. Desert.